Hello everyone. I welcome you all in today's lecture. As the content says, we're going to be covering the Pandas Recap. So this is the second version of my Pandas Recap. So in this recap, we'll be covering the Pandas data frame specifically. So that's what we left with in the first lecture, first recap. So we're going to be doing that. Cool. But before that, just a quick round of introduction, guys. As you know, my name is Arpit Jain. I'm a senior data scientist myself. I have been working into industry for more than 9 years, for almost 9 years now. And in this 9 years of my experience, I've been working mostly as a data guy, and I've been into multiple domains. So initially, I was with a bank. I was working for a finance sector. Then I was with a cloud domain. Then I was in a manufacturing automobile sector. Then I'm right now in a telecommunication sector. Okay. And yeah, as you know, all of these time I was working as a data science guy. Okay. So that's the beauty of working into data science, right? And that's you become immune to domains specifically, I would say, in that sense. So that opens up a lot of opportunities for you from different domains across all the verticals. So because see, ultimately the objective here is you'll be working as a data guy, right? So data guy specifically has the freedom to work on the data, right? So he's working on data, but yeah, but that does not mean that so your domain expertise is of zero importance. It's not like that. But I would say in the sense of being prioritizing things, definitely your domain is of second importance. Your skill sets based on the data science, say statistics, machine learning, Python, SQL. So these are your mandatory skill sets. So this is going to be given the priority. So if you are skilled enough, so you can get a job. Yes, if you are going, suppose for example, I'm in telecommunication domain right now. So if I'm switching later, this switching, if I go to a telecommunication domain, right? So I'll be preferred there. So I'll be given a preference there, but it does not mean that I cannot go to a healthcare domain, right? So that's the beauty of being into the data science part, right? And as per the subjects which we're going to talk about, uh, we'll be taking Python, SQL, and PySpark. So Python is specifically what we are discussing now. Okay, and also we have a plan of doing a SQL. So we'll be doing SQL as well. So we'll be starting it subsequently this most probably in coming week. And PySpark, that's the plan move for post that. So we're going to be covering the big data component of Python. So once we have finished the Python and the SQL front, so that's the plan, guys. Great. So that's about it. And you have the code right in front of your screen, guys, which is say Python 10. So if you use this particular code, so you can get a 10% off on your Unacademy Plus subscription. Great. So this is basically, you know, how helpful it is. So you'll be having the exclusive benefits there, exclusive shows, exclusive, multiple channel streams which you'll be watching live. So it's part of your plus subscription. So you can take that. Great. So, right. So now, the platform. So basically, Unacademy as a platform has launched a new platform which is Relevel. Okay, and Relevel is a unique platform which is meant to connect the candidates, the job seekers, to the companies directly. Okay, so many a times we have observed that the candidates feel that they are missing out on a great opportunities due to multiple reasons, right? So sometimes they feel that they do not have the right degree, they do not have the better degree, maybe from a top-notch tier 1 colleges, or maybe they don't have the right networks, right? They don't know the right people, they don't have the right connections to get the right referrals at some time. So this is again one of the reasons which candidates are feeling that, due to which they are missing out the good opportunities. And they also feel that the resumes doesn't stand out when you apply for the company. So maybe there is something in the resume which needs to be updated right? So maybe the resume content issue. So because when you're applying for a position, say there are certain other 100 applicants, right? So even if you meet all the criteria, you might still not get the call, right? So there are a lot of things. So maybe the content issue or something. So your resume is not standing out in the crowd. So you're not, getting shortlisted for your selection process. And also the candidates are feeling that they have applied for, say, n number of jobs, say 50, 60, 100, 200 jobs, right? And they're still not getting the calls. This again one major issue which people are generally experiencing, and they have observed that they are not getting the calls, and due to which they have certain issues, and they are missing out on great opportunities. So this is the platform, guys. So we have been observing these issues quite closely, and that is the reason why Relevel has been introduced, and this is the India's first test hiring platform, okay, by Unacademy, which is helping job seekers find their dream jobs. Okay, and how do they find their dream jobs? So it's basically a test hiring platform. Okay, so based on the portfolio in which you are interested in, you can select that particular portfolio, and all you have to just focus is, like, you have to appear for the test. So whatever portfolio you select, you'll be asked to appear for a test, and the only focus here is you have to focus on that test only. So the whole job selection process is entirely based on your skills and your talent. Okay, it's not dependent on your degree, it's not dependent on what all people you know, it is all depending on your pure talent and skills. Okay, so if you are appearing for this test, the only expectation from you is to get a good score in that test. That's it. That's the only requirement. Okay, nothing else is mandatory. So by default, internally, Relevel as a platform has tie-ups with multiple organizations, multiple companies. So once you give this test, right, so your report card will be sent by default these companies, and you'll start getting the call. It's not like you are running behind the companies, you are applying for jobs, you are following up with the recruiters. No, the recruiters, once they get the report cards, your profile along with that attached, they will start calling you. You are not supposed to reach out to them. You have to just sit back and relax and wait for the call. That's it. Okay, so that is where it's a unique platform. It's a test hiring platform, so which Academy has provided. And yeah, there are certain benefits I would definitely like to add. So if you participate in this Relevel tests, right, so there are a lot of benefits, and some of these I'll be highlighting to you. So Relevel as a platform has had tie-ups with more than 50 plus companies, including the top startups as well as the unicorns like ENY, Cred, Zoomcar, Upgrad, Razorpay, Urban Company. So all of these and many more, right? So, and these companies are directly hiring from the Relevel as a platform. Okay, so these companies are shared with your score, your profile once you have appeared for the test, and that is how you will be getting the short listings. Okay, so that is where it's important. And there are 1,000 plus open job positions, guys, across 3 different portfolios right now. So those are business development, front-end development, and back-end development. So these are the broader portfolios as of now. It's a beta platform. So the portfolios which is available right now, where there are 1,000 plus open jobs, are business development, front-end development, and back-end development. So you can choose whatever portfolio you are interested in and then just appear for the test based on the certain criteria. And it's a completely online platform, guys, completely online. So you can, and this can be taken from the comfort of your home. So wherever you are comfortable, you can take this test. It's completely online. Okay, and the good thing is you can attempt this test for completely zero cost. It's free. Okay, so you can do this, you can appear for the test for free. Yeah, it might be chargeable later on, but for now, Relevel has been introduced by Unacademy of free of cost. So right, so and it has multiple rounds. So expectedly there'll be 5 rounds of test. Okay, each having certain duration. So the details you'll be getting it once you sign up to the platform. So once you sign up, you'll check the details. So but again, the expectation is you have to finish your entire test in a single day, and that day could be of your choice. right? And you can choose the available date based on your comfort, based on the availability of the slots as well. And then once that slot has been selected, you have to just appear for the test, and your report card will be available within a week's time. So once you have given the test, you have to just sit back and relax, and then your report card will be coming within a week, which along with you will be shared with the hiring companies as well. So you'll be getting the calls accordingly. Right, and once you clear the test with the qualifying score, you will be able to create an amazing candidate profile, which will help you to showcase your skills and stand out from the crowd, right? And something that stands out is always noticed by the companies, you know that, right? So but basically this is the platform where you can create your own standout profile, irrespective of the background, irrespective of whatever you have done before. It is purely depending on your skills and talent and nothing else, right? So no X and Y here. And to get the Relevel profile, so basically the candidate has to score more than 700 out of 1000. So that's a 70% of requirement of your marks. Okay. So in the test which you'll be applying for, so whatever platform, whatever portfolio you choose, so the qualifying marks here is 700 out of 1000. So okay, that's the bare requirement from the Relevel as a platform. Yeah, again, higher the better. So if you score really well, so that's how you'll be standing out from the crowd, right? So higher the better, but the bare minimum requirement here is 700 out of 1000. Right, and also on top of this, the candidates will be rewarded with some exciting goodies, guys, like MacBook, iPhone, and many more such exciting goodies, depending on the highest rank holder of the on the Relevel test particular portfolio per month. So if you are one of the highest rank holders across the month for that particular portfolio, you are expected to receive the good goodies. So that might be a MacBook, that might be an iPhone, many more such exciting goodies, guys. Right, so basically with Relevel, you are in a unique position to invite interest from companies instead of hunting for these companies on your own, right? So instead of so basically the thing is, you are not running around behind these companies, right? So this is, you are creating your own standout profile where the companies would be hunting for you. You won't be hunting for the companies, right? So once you have the great score, just sit back and relax, and the companies will reach out to you. Great. So, and the registration on the Relevel as a platform is also very much easy. So the link is there in the description. So once you join, once you go to this link, right? So you have you can see this on the screen. You have an option called as Get Hired. Right. So once you click on this, you'll be asked to sign up on the platform. Okay. And yeah, once you sign up, so there'll be I mean, a number of things which you'll be filling up. So right now there are 3 portfolios. So as I said, will be available for you once you sign up. So there are business developments, there's front-end development and back-end development. So under each of these individual portfolios, there are a number of jobs available and a number of roles as well. So you can see this under business development. Some of the popular roles are, say, sales associate, business development manager, customer engagement associate, right? And likewise in the front end development, you have Angular developer, web developer, and likewise in the backend development, you have data engineer, backend engineer, and likewise, right? And likewise, you can see the number of open positions. Like for example, business development, you have 500 odd jobs. Front end development, you have 150 odd jobs. So backend development, you have 350 odd jobs. Right. So likewise, in individual portfolios, you have multiple roles as well as multiple opportunities available. So once you choose any of these platforms, one of these portfolios for your testing, right? So the next thing which will be asked from you is to select the slot. Okay. So slot as in, I mean, yeah. So the slots are definitely limited, guys. It's a beta platform, so I would suggest you to book it fast. So once you book the slot, right? So depending on the availability, so whatever time frame it is available, so you have to just select the particular date, and then yeah, as I've said, Once you've selected the date, the expectation from you is to finish the entire test on that particular date. So take a I would say complete break on that day, right? So be mentally fresh and then appear for it. So choose the date of your availability, of your comfort, and then proceed. Once you select this date, guys, it'll ask you to create on the next screen a neat video resume. Okay, so what is a video resume? That is something which is again very important, guys. So video resume is nothing but, so it's basically like you are explaining, you're talking about yourself in say 30 seconds to almost 3 minutes. So anything in between this time. So you are expected to talk about yourself, what you have done, and what are your qualifications, what all important things you have been doing. So basically like talk about yourself, talk about some good things about yourself, right? So that's the expectation. So yeah, I mean, definitely if you're going to create a video resume, so that's the bare minimum requirement is you are neatly groomed, right? So you understand this. So it is expected that you're neatly groomed. So, and with that, you can start recording from the screen itself. So you can talk about yourself in 30 seconds to almost 3 minutes, guys. Cool. So once that is done, sit back and wait for the D-Day. So you have to appear for the test on the date of your choice. And that's nothing but, so you have to just relax and then wait for the call, right? So what are you waiting for? Register for the Relevel platform right away, guys. Cool. So yes, and you know, apart from all this, we also do have a basic platform where it's a Telegram channel, so where you have all the live updates, all details can be caught directly from this. So it's a one place stop for all of your queries, for all of your doubts regarding the Unacademy as a platform. So all the upcoming shows, all the upcoming different activities coming up live on the platform, right? So you'll be getting all the details in this channel. So again, you won't be running around here and there. So it's a very, very useful channel, guys. Do join this. Yeah, so as always, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel, which is CodeBeyond from Unacademy. So yeah, if you feel that you're getting benefited, feel free to motivate us as well. Cool. So we are on the content slide, guys. So as you know, we will be covering the recap of my pandas as agreed. So in the recap one, we did something on the initial part of my pandas, which is towards my series and other elements. So in this recap of my pandas, we'll be talking about data frames. Okay, so we'll be doing a quick recap of pandas data frames, and then what all things we have covered there. So we'll try to do that. Cool. Let's switch to our content. So that's this. Let's me jump there. Cool. So we are into our content slide, guys. So we are into a data frame. So basically in the data frames, you know, so that's what our agenda is for today. Great. So as you know, so data frames are technically nothing but another data type of my Python or pandas, I would say, in that sense. So basically whatever you know, right? So whatever data you have seen in your lifetime, so you might be seeing Excel files, you might be seeing CSVs, right? So those are nothing but rows and columns of data, right? So there are certain headers, there are certain indexes, so you have a tabular structure, right? So that tabular structure where you have the rows and the columns, so that's nothing but internally in the Python pandas coding environment, they call as data frames. Okay. So similarly, so whatever Excel CSV आपने देखा हुआ है, internally to pandas Python, they are termed as data frames, nothing fancy. Okay. So that is something but what my data frames is. So as you know, so how to import my pandas, so we have already done that. So that's how I'm going to be importing pandas. So by default, importing pandas, import, this is my keyword, and it's a reserved keyword, so that's why it is turned as green. And now I have given an alias here, which is my PD. So instead of calling this entire 6-character word, I'm using a 2-character word. So basically to reduce the chances of error and maybe, you know, just to save some time, right? So I can define it as an alias using a keyword as. Okay, so now whenever I'll be calling here, so we'll be doing that likewise. Great. Let's do that. So that's the something which is one thing which you're looking for. Now the second thing is, see, so in this data frames basically, so under the pandas, we have a function called as data frame. Okay, so remember for the series we had a function called as series, series, but for the data frame we have a function called as data frame. Okay. Now again, because it's a function, so it is by default subscribed by parentheses, right? So that is well known. So and again, it's a function. So by default, by function, we mean that it should be taking some argument, some data to be processed on, right? So some information. How we can check that? So you remember, so under parentheses, if we just give shift tab, so you'll be getting this dialog box. So the list of all the arguments which can be passed on top of my data frame, right? So you can see these. So this is my arguments which can be used. So I have data here, right? So I have index, I have columns, I have dtype, and I have copy. Great. So again, as I've already told you, so the order is also very much important. So the first argument by default it takes is data, if not given explicitly, and the second is my index, likewise others, right? So that's how my data has to be given. Great. And you know this, so by default it is taking some of the default values also. Even if I won't give anything, so by default it'll take data as none, so basically nothing, or say a null or an empty thing. Likewise for also, it has given some empty data, some like a default values also. So we've already seen that. So if it do period or data frame function, and if I don't give anything, that is also fine. So I can get a data frame which is an empty data frame. You can see this is an empty data frame, nothing is here. So by default it has taken everything is empty, done. Okay, so that's the first way. Now now I'm creating my first data frame here. So first data frame basically मैंने क्या करा है यहाँ पे. So as you remember, so हमारा इसमें first argument क्या है? हमारा first argument है data, right? So I have to pass some data to create a data frame, and likewise index columns भी हम pass करेंगे, accordingly we'll do that. So अभी हम डेटा पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करते हैं. सो डेटा, अब देखो आपको पता है कि डेटा फ्रेम जो है, डेटा फ्रेम का डेटा कैसे होगा. ये तो सीरीज एलिमेंट है नहीं. सीरीज एलिमेंट में वी हैड अ स्केलर वैल्यूज, वी हैड अ कलेक्शन ऑफ वैल्यूज, उसमें हम सिंगल हैंडेडली पास कर सकते थे लिस्ट ऑफ कलेक्शन, राइट. बट हियर द प्रॉब्लम इज वी नीड टू डिफाइन द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ माई डेटा फ्रेम. सो रोज भी हैं, कॉलम्स भी हैं, तो हमें डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा, राइट. सो द आइडियल वे ऑफ डिफाइनिंग अ डेटा फ्रेम इज यूजिंग a dictionary structure. Okay, so dictionary structure में क्या होता है, you know this. So in the dictionary we have the key and the value pairs, right? So अब जैसे कि for example you can see this, I have a key name here and I have a key age here. So name के अंदर में we have a list of certain values, right? So I have given Tom, Jerry, Spike and all that. So some random names are given, right? And likewise, so I'm given for the key age, I have the respective ages of each of these individual entities, right? So you can see this. So by default अभी हम इसमें अगर data frame में pass करते हैं, so what I'm saying is under my name I have these many things. So logically what you are able to grasp from this, so basically name should be my column name. column name के अंदर मेरे पास इतने सारे नाम हैं, correct? So this is the technical understanding of this, but again you can restructure it, realign it. But again, so by default अगर हम यहाँ पे as a key और value pair में pass करते हैं as a dictionary, so it is taken as my column name and these are given as my row values. ठीक है? So I have defined this dictionary as my first data set, and under this my pd.data frame I'm passing this my first data set as my, and if I won't give anything, so by default it is taken as what? So first argument is data, so I'm not defining anything. So by default this my first data set has been identified as data, right? So if I just see this, so I'll get something like this, right? So this is my data frame. So you can see this is a tabular structure. So I have in the tabular structure I have the name of the columns, which is name and age, and respective elements of my name and age, right? So whatever I have passed. Cool. So this is how you're going to be creating your data frame, guys. Okay, so that's the first way of creating my data frame, right? So likewise, as you know, there are multiple ways which you can create this data frame. Okay, so another way is you can pass the list of lists. Okay, so you remember, so there are 2-3 ways of creating the data frame. So first we talked about initializing it with a dictionary, so where the key would be identified as my column names and the values would be identified as my row elements. Okay, the second is I'm passing the list of lists. Okay, so basically here what I'm doing is, so I'm passing the individual records individually. So what I'm saying is Tom and 10. So basically the first record is Tom and 10. So first record means I'm talking about this first row basically. So I'm passing this each of these row elements individually. Okay, so my first row element, so here in this ABC I'm not talking about the indexing, guys, so do not get confused right now. I'm just talking about the data. Okay, so data mein I'm saying the first row element should be Tom and 10, the second row element would be Jerry and 12, the third row element would be Spike and 14. ठीक है, so just ये तो सब डेटा हुआ, करेक्ट. इस डेटा के ऊपर मुझे 2-3 चीज पास करनी पड़ सकती है. अब इसमें सबसे पहले तो कॉलम का नाम जाएगा. आई एम नॉट डिफाइनिंग कि टॉम क्या है, 10 का मतलब क्या है, मुझे कॉलम का हेडर नहीं पता. आई डोंट नो द कॉलम हेडर, राइट. So in that case, you remember we had an option of an argument of columns in the data frame, right? So अभी हम columns में specify करेंगे कि the first element of my the row element is name and the second is age. Okay, so I'm passing an external argument here, columns. Okay, so in this period data frame, what I'm doing right now is I'm saying the first argument to be ABC, which is my data. Okay, and the second argument to be A, B, C, which is, so by default, you know, if I do this, so I have the second argument, which is my index, right? So this is my index, which is my A, B, and C here. So this is how it is, right? So if I won't give the explicit argument name, so by default, it'll take the default order of my argument. So default order of second argument is my index. So by default, this has been identified as my index. And then I'm going to define the columns explicitly. So columns are name and age, and I'm going to run it. So you've already run it. So you can see this. So I'm defining name and age as my column headers. And this will gonna be my first element, Tom and 10. And this gonna be my second element, Jerry and 12, and Spike and 14, right? So now here you can see the indexes also. So can you see this? I have defined the index as well. Now what if I don't give this index here? So by default, indexing in data frame always starts with 0. I mean, not in data frame. So by default, the indexing in Python starts from 0. You know this, right? So even in data frame, so by default, the indexing starts from 0. Okay, so that's how it is. So we have the values of 0, 1, and 2, guys. Okay, so that's how it is. So that's how it is being taken. So that's how we have the data frames here. Okay, so A, B, and C, that's how we have been given. So yeah, if I just add this, so I'm specifying my index again. So this is going to be my index. So I'm giving an explicit external index to my data frame. So that is also possible. So that's my second way, guys. So I'm passing a list of lists to my data. So first was my dictionary. Second was my list of lists. Now we have another third type. So third type, we have list of dictionaries. Can you see this? So I have list of dictionaries. So in this dictionaries, you can see this. So for the first dictionary element of my list, I have 2 elements, 2 key value pairs. I have A and B. A as 1, B as 2. The second dictionary element has 3 key value pairs, A, B, and C, right? So there is a difference, right? So always remember, guys, so first we talked about the data type as dictionary. So dictionary as my input data type for my data. The second is my list of lists. The third is the list of dictionaries. Let's see how the data frame would look like here. Great. So can you see this? So again, this is my first key. Okay, so first row element. Okay, So first row element here in this, I'm not defining the column explicitly. Okay, so remember when I'm passing the list of list, I'm specifying the column headers specifically here because the columns are not defined here. But as you know, the keys in the dictionaries, the keys are by default taken as my headers, right? So that's my column names. So that's how it has taken it as. So the A is 1, the B is 2, and here we don't have anything C here. Okay, so till at this point of time, so the first element, it has only created A and B with the value 1 and 2 till now. Okay, so 1, and now it go for the second element A, B, and C here, right? So it has first filled A and B, and then it has identified another key C, so it has created another C column here, and it has filled 20 here. So what is left? This particular NaN value, this is left, right? So by default, the left out element will be given as NaN. So you can see this in the first set of my dictionary. I do not have any key value pair which says C. So it has given as null, NaN. Cool. So that's my third way, dictionary. So list of dictionary. So likewise, I can just fine tune it to whatever way I want. So just a quick glance at this, guys. So I have A, B, C in the first, I have A, B in the second, I have A, B, C, and D in the third. Cool. Great. So you have A, B, and C here in the first dictionary. You have A and B in the second dictionary, and then you have A, B, C, and D in the third dictionary. अगर मैं यहाँ पे df पे रन करता हूँ तो डेफिनेटली अब हमारे पास फर्स्ट डिक्शनरी जो है बेसिकली मेरा फर्स्ट रो एलिमेंट, इसमें ए बी एंड सी है, तो ए बी एंड सी की वैल्यू फिल्ड हो गई यहाँ पे. आई डो नॉट हैव एनी डी हियर. सो टिल द फर्स्ट टाइम, सो फर्स्ट लूप में ये सिर्फ इतना क्रिएट करेगा. ठीक है, सो इट एडेड द फर्स्ट रो एलिमेंट लाइक दिस. ठीक है, so this one has been created. The second, now it will go for the second, so A1 and B2, so it'll create this and this, and since C was already created and there's no C in the second, so by default it will be given as null. ठीक है, now अब ये create करेगा A, B and C and D. so अब ये A, B, C तो fill कर दिया, अब ये D बनाएगा 70, D extra create कर गया. ठीक है, अब इसके अलावा में ये और ये तो empty रह गया because इस first और second element में है नहीं, तो it'll be given as by default nan. ठीक है, that's how it works internally. Great. So again इसमें important thing है guys एक note करने के लिए. So जैसे कि आपने देखा, so you have the values of A, B and C which is your column headers, right? अब what if I give something like this. मैंने क्या करा, as you know, so I can also pass, by default it has taken the default indexing which is 0, 1 and 2, but मैं इसको अपना user defined indexing भी दे सकता हूँ, बिल्कुल दे सकता हूँ. So I can give any index whatever I want. So I have passed an external indexing A, B and C likewise, so which is given me like this. So A, B and C as my individual indexes values. So right, so again, you know, I can extract it whatever way I want. So I want the 8th index or bth index, or so I mean technically we do not keep both the column headers and the row indexes as the same because it will create confusions, right? So technically this is I mean it's not a good approach, I would say. We won't be using A, B and C. I'm just giving you just an example. So rather we can create something like this: A, B, B and say CC. And so now you can see this, my indexes have been changed accordingly. Cool. So that's about my creation of my data frames. ठीक है, अब next very important topic is guys slicing. ठीक है, so I mean yeah, आपने data frame तो बना लिया, but आप data frame को access कैसे करोगे? Correct. So for example, we have been talking about ranges, ranges, particular index value और multi-level labels, right? So बहुत सारे तरीके से हम indexing कर सकते हैं. So but again, to access data frames, right? So data frames of access कैसे करोगे? So it's a grid kind of a thing, right? So you have rows and columns, correct? So you have grid. So basically एक grid के element को पकड़ने के लिए आपको grid के दोनों elements, दोनों access को देना पड़ेगा. You have to define the rows as well as columns. Then you will specify a particular content, particular element of my grid, right? So if you just give a scalar value, say row or a column, so it will become a little trickier to understand a particular. You can get the entire row in that sense, right? But then you have to specify both my row and the column values. So that is something which is important. So accessing the data in data frames is there are majorly two ways. There's a third way also called as IX, but majorly we have lock and iLock, which are most frequently used. Okay. So there again, what is lock and iLock? So I'll just give you a brief on that. Very important concept, guys. So yeah, so again, technically how you can remember this? So iLock में आपके पास I है starting में, correct? So I से integer हो सकता है ना? So आप इसको ये समझो integer lock है ये. So iLock में आप जैसे कि for example you have to give both the rows and the column का values, right? So I mean whatever condition you want to give for rows and columns, right? So if you want to, if you're using iLock, so iLock का मतलब integer lock है, right? So by default, this means that you have to, for all the rows and the columns condition, you have to provide a number, okay, an integer. So it will by default take all the condition in forms of number and integer. Okay, इसका reverse lock में क्या होता है? लॉक में यू कैन प्रोवाइड योर लेबल्स एज वेल. लेबल से मेरा क्या मतलब है? जैसे कि मेरा कॉलम का नाम है यहाँ पे ABCD, राइट? सो इंस्टेड ऑफ गिविंग द कॉलम का ऑर्डर, से कॉलम ऑफ 0 बोलूंगा तो A होगा, कॉलम ऑफ B बोलूंगा तो B होगा, कॉलम ऑफ 1 बोलूंगा तो B आएगा, राइट? सो इसका मैं इसका इंडेक्स ऑर्डर नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, मैं डायरेक्टली कॉलम का नाम बोल रहा हूँ, A, B या C या D, है ना? सो दैट्स माई लेबल बेसिकली, करेक्ट? So I can, in the lock, I can pass the label name also instead of number, but iLock by default expects only the integer values. ठीक है? अब बहुत ही बेसिक सा क्वेश्चन आता है, people ask that why both lock and iLock, right? So why can't we just have one, or what is the usefulness of lock and iLock? देखो, इसका सिंपल सा आंसर ये है कि it depends on your data. For example, suppose it's a big data, it's a very big data, okay, and you want to access a particular column, and since it's a big data, you don't know the index ka number. You don't know on which where exactly your column is located. What is the order of my column? I don't know that. Okay, I just know the column name. So in that scenarios, you will be expected to use what? Lock. So you can, if you want to access a big data where you don't know the column index is, so in that case lock काम करेगा ना, because आप iLock लगा नहीं पाओगे, आपको index नहीं पता है. Vice versa, अगर आपको डेटा में इंडेक्स पता है, कॉलम का नाम नहीं पता है, ऐसा भी होता है, बिल्कुल हो सकता है. So in that case, you have to use iLock. So basically, yeah, so it all depends on what flexibility you are looking for. Okay, so what kind of data you have, what is your purpose, so that is where it is used. ठीक है, ये थोड़ा सा बेसिक सा कंटेंट मैंने लिख रखा है यहाँ पे. तो अब कैसे डालते हो इसमें? देखो, लॉक एंड iLock बेसिकली काम कैसे करता है मैं बता देता हूँ. तो देखो, स्लाइसिंग हम कैसे करते हैं? हमेशा आप एक स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट से करते हो, करेक्ट? तो ये इस स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट के अंदर हमेशा एक आपको रोज एंड कॉलम दोनों को पास करना है, करेक्ट? तो आप एक कॉमा से डिवाइड कर दो इसको. सो जस्ट अ बाइफर्केशन बेस्ड ऑन कॉमा. सो व्हाटएवर यू हैव ऑन द लेफ्ट हैंड साइड ऑफ द कॉमा, दैट विल बी माय रो कंडीशन. ठीक है, कॉमा के लेफ्ट साइड में आपके पास रो कंडीशन है, कॉमा के राइट साइड में यू हैविंग अ कॉलम का कंडीशन. ठीक है, अब एक कंडीशन क्या डालना है मैं बताऊंगा. ठीक है, सो दैट्स हाउ द इंडेक्सिंग शुड बी. एंड इसके पहले में आपके पास लॉक होगा या iLock होगा. सो बेसिकली डॉट होगा बेसिकली यहाँ पे. सो df.iLock या df.lock, ये मेरा कंडीशन है. ये इस तरीके से सिंटेक्स है, हम ऐसे लिखते हैं. ठीक है, अब मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग है यहाँ पे समझने का, व्हाट इज माई रो कंडीशन आई हैव टू गिव एंड व्हाट इज द कॉलम कंडीशन व्हिच आई हैव टू गिव. सो दैट इज व्हाट वी हैव टू स्टडी नाउ. ठीक है, चलो इस पे थोड़ा सा काम कर लेते हैं. सो आई एम क्रिएटिंग अ न्यू डेटा फ्रेम हियर, सो जस्ट टू ईज आउट. ठीक है, सो ये है मेरे पास न्यू डेटा फ्रेम. हमने क्रिएट करा 1 2 3 and 4. सो लिंगुअल ONE 1 2 3 and 4 एंड द इंडेक्सेस है मेरे पास नंबर्स में 0 1 2 3. ठीक है, सो एंड आपको पता है बेसिक स्लाइसिंग हम कैसे करते हैं. सो स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट्स में स्टार्ट एंड एंड. सो बेसिकली दिस स्टार्ट एंड एंड अगर हम आई लॉक में करते हैं तो ये तो कॉलम और रेंज दोनों के लिए वैलिड है. तो लॉक अगर हम सपोज आई लॉक करते हैं तो आई लॉक में नंबर लेगा. ठीक है, तो ये स्टार्ट एंड एंड जो है ये कॉलम के लिए हो गया, रो के लिए हो गया, और स्टार्ट एंड एंड कॉलम के लिए हो गया. समझ में आ रहा है आपको. सो फर्स्ट कॉमा जो है मेरा कॉमा जो है वो इट इज separating my row condition and the column condition. That is clear, right? And internally to my row and the column condition I can have the ranges as well, right? So ये start and stop valid will be valid for both the row and the column condition. So there should not be any question in that, correct? Cool. So that's how we're going to be doing that, right? So जैसे मैंने आपको बताया आई लॉक के अंदर आप लॉक के अंदर सेम चीज दोगे. अच्छा, एक चीज और ऑलवेज रिमेंबर, आई लॉक हमेशा क्या करता है कि जब भी आप रेंजेस देते हैं ना, इट ऑलवेज रिटर्न्स m-1 एज एन आउटपुट. अभी m-1 होता क्या मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ. फॉर एग्जांपल सपोज अब जैसे मेरा यहाँ पे df है, ये डेटा फ्रेम है ना. आई हैव 4 कॉलम्स एंड 4 रोज, करेक्ट. अभी मैंने रेंज डाला 1 2 3 एंड 1 2 3 इन बोथ. सो बेसिकली कॉलम रोज में क्या बोल रहा हूँ, 1 से लेकर के 3 तक मेरे को चाहिए. 1 से 3 तक क्या है, ये रो हो गया. सो ये तीनों रो हो गए, 1 2 3 तीनों रो हो गए, करेक्ट. This is by default I mean by 1 to 1 से लेके 3 तक, करेक्ट. एंड ऑल्सो बाई डिफॉल्ट एन सी वन एम से कॉलम में भी चाहिए 1 से 3 तक. सो 1 से 3 कहाँ से स्टार्ट हो रहा है, 1 आपका कॉलम नंबर ये है, 2 है, सेकंड ये है, 3 क्या है, 4 है, करेक्ट. अब जब इसको यहाँ पे आप रन करते हो ना df.ilog के अंदर सेम चीज रन करते हो तो बाई डिफॉल्ट ये m-1 कर देता है. m-1 मीन्स इट विल बी टेकिंग 3-1. So instead of returning 1, 2 and 3 as my output, it'll return only 1 and 2. That's the notation of ilog. Okay, so I mean don't ask me why it does that. That's how it is. Okay, so ilog takes m-1. ठीक है, likewise कॉलम में भी हो जाएगा. तो मैं 2 3 and 4 एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा था, बट एक डिसीजन मेरे को 2 and 3 रिटर्न किया. ठीक है, so that's how this is my subset of the data frame coming from ilog. ठीक है. अब सपोज मेरे को ऑल्दो आई हैव गिवन 1 2 3, इट इज गिवन मी 1 and 2, बट आई वांटेड 1 से लेकर के 3 तक, है ना. सेम चीज अब हम एक काम करते हैं, लॉक में रन करते हैं. ठीक है, सो हमने सेम चीज लॉक में कैसे रन करनी है. सो मैंने आपको बताया कि आई हैव टू पास द लेबल्स हियर बेसिकली, करेक्ट. सो लेबल्स में क्या है, सो मैं 1 2 3 बेसिकली वही कर रहा हूँ, रो इंडेक्सेस 1 से लेकर 3 तक कर रहा हूँ, इसमें कोई इशू नहीं है. But for the columns, I'm instead of giving 1 2 3 as a number, I'm passing the name of the column, which is TWO से लेकर के 4 तक. So 2 3 and 4 तीनों चाहिए मुझे. इस सेम कोड को मैंने लॉक में कन्वर्ट किया, बस नथिंग एल्स. ठीक है, अगर आप जब इसको रन करते हो ना, so yeah, voila, you'll get the results here. So you'll get all the 3 rows, all the 3 columns. Okay, so yeah, certain if else plus minus in both lock and iLock. So you based on your requirement you have to use it likewise. Again इसमें multiple conditions हम कर सकते हैं, you know this, right? So we can pass the multi-level indexes also, like specific indexes 1 3 4 whatever I want, right? So I can do it any way I want. So you can see this, so I can pass a multi-level index also. I wanted second and the 0th and the second index of row, and I want first and the third index of my column. So if I run this, I'll get the exact same data, which is required. Okay, so इसमें ranging नहीं है, multi-level indexing भी possible है, but yeah, always remember you have to pass it with a comma for both rows and columns, not only row or not only column, but you have to pass the condition for both of them. ठीक है, सिमिलरली सेम चीज मैंने करी iLock को लॉक में, है ना. सो लॉक में हमने क्या करा, रो इंडेक्स तो ठीक है, बट लेबल कर दिया हमने कॉलम्स के अंदर. सो इंस्टेड ऑफ पासिंग the number indexes of my columns, I'm passing the labels of my columns. So same code, so same results. Yeah, so I can have a mix match also. So you know this, so I have the indexes 0 and 3 as my multi-level indexes, but I have the range on my column. So range में अगर iLock है तो -1 कर देगा. So I'll get only the first and the second indexes, and the 0 and third for the row indexes. I get that. Likewise lock में भी हम कर सकते हैं, इसमें कोई इशू नहीं है. ठीक है. And again, a very good functionality in lock is it works on the filters criteria also. Filters as in suppose, for example, so I'll just print the df first and then I'll talk about that. Okay, so now here the objective is I want the data of column 3 and 4, okay, where the column 2 data points are greater than 20. So basically, this question means that I have the column indexes, which is 3 and 4, but unfortunately, I do not have the row indexes. है ना? So basically, अभी मैं कह रहा हूँ कि I want a data for 3 and 4 का column, बट मेरे को पता नहीं है कि कौन सा रो मेरे को उठाना है. रो के लिए मुझे कंडीशन पता है कि टेक ऑल द रोज वेयर देयर इज अ थर्ड कॉलम इन्वॉल्व नाउ. सो द कॉलम टू के अंदर मेरा जहां पे भी वैल्यू 20 से ज्यादा है, फॉर ऑल दोज इंडेक्सेस आई वांट द डेटा फ्रॉम द कॉलम्स 3 and 4. Got it? So here what I'm doing right now is, so here in the log, so first condition is my row and the second is my column. Right, so column का तो कोई doubt नहीं है. Column का तो I'm sure I need 3 and the 4 as my column variable, so उसमें कोई issue नहीं है. But for the row indexes, I can pass a condition also. You can see this. I'm passing a condition which says df of 2 जहाँ पे भी greater than 20 होगा. So this will be my row indexes. So basically where it is, so second and the third. So basically this, right? So second and the third. So you can see this 30 and 40. So these two values are greater than 20, right? So if you do this and run it, you can find the second and the third index value for the column 3 and 4. So you're not getting the column 2 here, although you run the condition on 2, but you got the data for 3 and 4 based on the condition ran on column 2. Okay, so that's something which is very fancy. You can do whatever you want. ठीक है, so we talked about this iloc lock. इसमें कोई issue नहीं होना चाहिए किसी को भी, किसी भी तरीके का कोई issue. This is a very good and very interesting I would say functionality, and very important functionality, guys. So if you have any questions in dlog, lock and iloc, so we can take it likewise. But again, so yeah, as I said, multi-level indexing भी possible है 0, 3, 1. So basically मैंने क्या करा, इसमें ordering भी कर दी. तो मेरे को पहले 0 चाहिए, फिर 3 चाहिए, थर्ड इंडेक्स चाहिए, फिर 1 चाहिए. So I can give the order also if I run it like this now. So you'll get the indexes sorted like this. So you'll get the first as 0 ka index, third second index, and then 1 as my third index. So you can sort that also. Cool. So you already know this, so we are pretty much done with this. So now the next is, there are certain computations which can be performed on pandas data frame. ठीक है, अब तो सिंपल है, सेम डेटा फ्रेम मैंने बनाया है, तो अब किस तरीके के कॉम्पिटिशन्स आप कर सकते हो इसमें. तो सबसे पहले हम कॉलम एडिशन करेंगे. ओके, सो कॉलम एडिशन कैसे करते हैं? कॉलम एडिशन करने का बहुत सारे तरीका है. आई मीन एक दो नहीं, आई मीन एक्चुअली मल्टीपल वेज हैं. The first and the very easiest way is you're defining a column name under my square brackets as it is. Okay, so this is my existing data frame. On top of this, आप क्या कर रहे हो, नया column 5 create कर रहे हो, and the column का नाम आप directly pass करो, df of 5. So basically इसको कैसे read करेंगे, df of 5, है ना. So इसको ऐसे read करते हैं. तो df of 5 आप कर रहे हो, इसमें आपने क्या बोला, df of 5 is nothing but a series element. So basically individual जो इसमें columns है ना, अगर आप सिर्फ कॉलम को उठाओगे तो सीरीज एलिमेंट ही हो गया, बिकॉज इट्स अ कलेक्शन ऑफ एलिमेंट्स, अ वेक्टर ऑफ स्केलर एलिमेंट्स, राइट. सो इस केस में हम क्या बोलेंगे, सीरीज एलिमेंट इंडिविजुअली. सो आई कैन पास अ न्यू सीरीज ऑन टॉप ऑफ दिस, करेक्ट. आई कैन डू दैट, शुड नॉट बी अ प्रॉब्लम. सो मैंने डीएफ अभी रन कर दिया. अभी मैंने यहाँ पे डीएफ ऑफ 5 एक नया क्रिएट किया, और इसके बाद मैं अगर डीएफ देखूंगा तो मेरे को एक नया कॉलम यहाँ पे मिल गया. सो मैंने यहाँ पे क्या करा, एक्सटर्नली पास किया है एक डेटा को फॉर माई न्यू कॉलम, करेक्ट. लाइकवाइज हम क्या कर सकते हैं, हम इंटरनली भी यूज कर सकते हैं. Okay, so I mean, yeah, definitely you have all the numeric columns here, right? So I can create a new column with any other data type as well. It's fine. I can add a string also on top of this. Why not? So I can create a 6th column which is A cross B, A, B, C, D, and likewise, है ना. अब इसमें हम एक बार ये भी कर सकते हैं, we can use the existing 2 columns to create a 3rd column. So for example, I want to create a new column 7, which is a multiplication of say 110, 220, 330, 414 like this. So if you want to do that, so we can find a new column 7 created, which is a multiplication of 1 and 2. So basically 1 cross 10, so which is 10, 2 cross 20, which is 40, 4 cross 40, which is 160. So created a new column based on the existing column itself. So that is also possible by any computation you want to. Cool. Okay, column addition हो गया, अब column deletion देख लेते हैं. So column deletion में we have two ways. So which first is del. So del basically अगर आप जब करते हो, so del by default में आपको column का नाम डालना पड़ेगा. So del df of 6. So basically you are removing the df of 6, है ना. So इसमें आप कुछ assign नहीं कर रहे हो guys, है ना. So आप just remember this, you are not assigning something like this. So if you're not doing this, so df is equal to del of df of 6, you're not doing this. Okay, so by default it I mean changes your data also. Okay, so del of df of 6 करोगे, so by default it will remove the df का column 6. Okay, so it will update your data frame dynamically. ठीक है. And by default इसका कोई output नहीं है guys. So if you run this ना, so it won't give you an output, it'll just run it. And you have to call df again to check it. Okay, but again the second option is df.pop. So pop जब करते हो, again इसमें आप column का नाम डालते हो. So by default it is also updating my data frame, but it also prints the data which is getting deleted. Okay, so df.pop जो है आपका, ये इसने ये डेटा को डिलीट किया है, ये प्रिंट करता है इसने क्या डिलीट किया है. ठीक है, और ये हाँ बाय डिफॉल्ट इसने डेटा फ्रेम को भी अपडेट कर दिया होता है बैकग्राउंड में. सो आप देखोगे सपोज 1 2 3 4 5 ही बचा, तो इसने पॉप जो है 7 को डिलीट तो कर दिया, बट वो प्रिंट करता है. सो दैट्स द ब्यूटी ऑफ यूजिंग पॉप एंड del फंक्शन. So for example, in any production code or any code which you are using in your organization, depending on the use, so if you want to see it, what exactly it is getting deleted, so you can use df.pop, or depending on the use basically. So both of them are used for the deletion purpose. Right. Okay, so next हम पढ़ते हैं append. So we talked about appending of rows. So basically now I have two different data frames. ठीक है, so इसमें हमारे पास data frame 1 है, ये AB1 data frame आपको दिख रहा है स्क्रीन पे, and I have another data frame, so which is df2. So basically मैंने क्या करा, कॉलम नेम सेम है गाइस, तो इसमें रिमेंबर ऑलवेज रिमेंबर, सो ए बी एंड ए बी ही है कॉलम नेम. सो मैं अपेंड कर रहा हूँ बेसिकली. अगर आपके पास कॉलम ए है तो कॉलम ए का डेटा आप कॉलम बी से तो अपेंड करोगे नहीं, है ना. और फिर कॉलम ए का डेटा कॉलम सी से तो अपेंड करोगे नहीं. तो अपेंड का मतलब क्या है, यू आर एडिंग, सो यू आर स्टैकिंग अप योर डिफरेंट डेटा फ्रेम्स. सो दैट्स व्हाट द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ अपेंड इज, राइट. सो डेटा फ्रेम 1 में मेरे पास क्या है, ए बी है, और ये डेटा पॉइंट्स है यहाँ पे 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 को डाला, सिंपल डाला मैंने. So append, जैसे आप सीरीज में append करते थे, you have the append function in data frames also. Simple same logic है. So df1 dot df append 2 करोगे, है ना, तो ये आपका बन के आ जाएगा. पहले हम सिंपल देखते हैं df3 को क्या दिखाता है यहाँ पर. सेम इशू है. अब ये ऑल्दो स्टैक तो हो गया, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 आ गया, है ना, बट अगेन द सेम इशू गाइस. यू कैन सी दिस, द इंडेक्सिंग हैज बीन डिस्टॉर्टेड, है ना. इसमें स्टिल हम सेम चीज कर सकते हैं, डॉट रीसेट इंडेक्स ड्रॉप इक्वल टू ट्रू. सो ड्रॉप ट्रू का मतलब बेसिकली हम ड्रॉपिंग द ओरिजिनल इंडेक्सिंग. ओके, ओरिजिनल इंडेक्सिंग क्या है, 0 1 0 1, इसकी तो जरूरत नहीं है. जब आप ये करोगे ना, सो बेसिकली आपको df3 में दिखेगा कि ये सॉर्ट हो गया वापस, है ना, मतलब ये अरेंज हो गया इंडेक्सिंग. सो दैट्स द, यू नो, दिस रीसेट इंडेक्स. सो यू कैन यूज इट ऑन टॉप ऑफ माय डेटा फ्रेम्स आल्सो. कूल. सो लाइकवाइज, सिंस यू नो, so Python is a object oriented programming. So all the functionalities are individual objects for my function, right? So for example, this is, so how I'm calling this, so can you see this, I'm using a dot function. Okay, so I'm just, by using a dot, I'm calling another functionality on top of my object, so which is this appended data. So this is my object, whole entire thing is my object. On this I'm running the reset index. Okay, so I can also add one more dot. I can call some other functionality, whatever is applicable on this. So now for this entire is my object. Now on this, for entire object, I'm running this. Okay, so for example, something like this. I can again add another dot if it is applicable. Okay, so now this, for this particular function, which is my this entire thing will become the object. ठीक है, so that is how, so we can, it's an object oriented programming, so you can call as many objects you want using the dot operators. Cool. So that's what we did. Great. Okay, so हमने डिलीशन का पढ़ा ना, कॉलम डिलीशन का. सो कॉलम डिलीशन के लिए हमने del और pop देखा था. सो बट वी हैव अ वेरी गुड फंक्शन विच इज ड्रॉप. Okay, so drop .drop as a function है pandas में available है. So this gives you more flexibility, है ना? So what column, even in index level, if you want to drop, okay, so you can do that. It is having more individual functionalities available. So .drop is again, we're going to do that. So same data frame again, guys. I've created the same data frame again. So I have this data frame. So in this drop, I have a very good function of access. Okay. So an argument of access. So how you can check the arguments? Again, drop के अंदर parenthesis के अंदर I'm gonna do shift tab. So shift tab में I'll be getting what all arguments it takes, right? So I have what labels, access, index, columns, and whatnot, blah blah. Cool. So you know this, you can check the arguments. So by default, it'll first argument is my label. So if I won't give anything, so by default, it'll take it as a label, right? And access is 1 and 0. So access, there are two access for a data frame, right? So either the row and the column. So what access you want to perform the action on, right? So by default, access, if the access value is 0, that means that it's gonna be performed row wise, and if the access value is 1, it's gonna be performed column wise. So that's how it is. Okay. So I have given the access as 1. So basically it's going to be worked on the column. So 1 and 3. So 1 and 3 column में identify करेगा वो, ये identify कर लिया, drop कर दिया इसने और ये return कर दिया. ठीक है. But the beauty of this is it will not alter your original data. So मैंने क्या करा यहाँ पे कहीं assign तो नहीं करा है, मैंने ये तो नहीं करा df is equal to df the drop. So मैंने जिस सिर्फ ड्रॉप को रन करा है ना. So ड्रॉप को रन करूंगा तो ये एक टेम्पररी व्यू डेटा है मेरा, है ना. अगर आप df को स्टिल चेक करोगे तो df अपडेट नहीं होगा, df still remains the same. Okay. So if you want to store the update the original data, so you have two ways. Either you do this df is equal to df dot drop blah blah, or you have an argument of in place is equal to true. So in place as an argument here you can use, if this has been given as true, it will update your original data frame. If you do this, you can see this, it has been updated now. Okay, that's how it is, guys. So that's how the drop function works. Great. So again, there are multiple ways you can actually drop it. So and whatever you want to create, so whatever columns, so you can drop multiple indices, you can give the indexes names, you can drop multiple columns, or you can define the access, the rows, the columns, whatever you want. Okay, so you have all the multiple flexibilities there. Cool. So now let's talk about some of the functionalities available within my data frames. Cool. So I've created a new data frame now. Great. So some of the good functionalities includes, the first one is transpose. Okay. So what is a transpose? So transpose, you know this, the rows will become columns and the columns will become rows. So again, how are we going to call this? So I'm going to use df.t. And if I do this, so now you can see this, this entire row has become the column indexes, and the column indexes has become the row indexes now, right? So I'm just transposing the data, right? So, and yeah, since you know it's an object, so you can run it even on another object. So even if I do say df of say log of say I want to have say 0 से लेके 3 तक चाहिए, and I wanted what name and say age, है ना. So name and age है, तो इसको मैं को एक लिस्ट में पास करना पड़ेगा. अब इस डेटा को पहले मैं देख लेता हूँ. ठीक है, ये मेरे को छोटा सा डेटा मिल गया. इस छोटे से डेटा के ऊपर भी मैं ट्रांसपोज रन कर सकता हूँ. Now I can have this type of data. So ये instead of having this entire thing now, I can have the shorter version of the data का भी transpose. So because it's an object, so transpose can be called on top of your data frame, even it's a function data frame or a plain data frame. So anything is fine. Right, so that's how transpose is used. So you're going to be transposing the data, you're going to be converting the rows to columns and columns to rows. ठीक है. So access क्या है? So basically it returns the list of तो basically access जो आपके पास available होगा इस data frame में. आपके पास इसमें basically दो access हैं, right? So access को है आपके पास एक तो row index है. So row access है जिसका value start हो रहा है 0 से end हो रहा है 7 पे और step है 1. So increment है 1 से. और दूसरा है आपका दूसरा इंडेक्स है यहाँ पे आपके 3 वैल्यूज हैं, नेम, एज एंड हाइट, जिसका डेटा टाइप है ऑब्जेक्ट. तो बेसिकली 2 एक्सेस है आपके पास. रो एक्सेस एंड द कॉलम एक्सेस। इसमें स्पेसिफाइड नहीं है बट ये दो एक्सेस को रिटर्न कर रहा है, रिटर्न द लिस्ट ऑफ माई एक्सेस वेरिएबल्स, है ना। ndim होता है, ndim बेसिकली नंबर ऑफ एक्सेस, सो या बाय डिफॉल्ट विल बी 2, सो नथिंग फैंसी देयर। डेटा टाइप्स बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है। सो डेटा टाइप्स, सो d टाइप्स नथिंग बट रिटर्न द डेटा टाइप्स ऑफ माय इंडिविजुअल columns. So here always remember, so data types by default returns the data types of my columns. Okay, so अब जब मैं उसको अगर रन करूंगा, df.datatypes रन करूंगा, so I have name, age and height here, है ना। so name is object, int is age is int and height is float, है ना। so likewise you have the data types of individual columns. So that is again sometimes it's very important to get the data types before starting to work on your data frames. You can just check the data types of individual columns like that. Cool. So now you have shape. So shape is nothing but it returns the dimensions of your data. So dimension से मेरा मतलब है the number of rows and number of columns. ठीक है। सो द नंबर ऑफ रोज, जो बेसिकली टपल एलिमेंट रिलीज करता है। सो टपल एलिमेंट में यहाँ पे दो आउटपुट है ना, दो एलिमेंट्स हैं यहाँ पे। सो द फर्स्ट एलिमेंट इज माय नंबर ऑफ रोज एंड द सेकंड एलिमेंट इज माय नंबर ऑफ कॉलम्स। सो बेसिकली अगर मैं इसको प्रिंट भी करूँ ना, ब्यूटीफुली प्रिंट कर देता हूँ। सो इट सेज दैट माय डेटा फ्रेम हैज 7 रोज एंड 3 कॉलम्स। सो ये शेप है मेरे डेटा फ्रेम का। कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करा मैंने, अगेन आपको पता है आप टपल को एक्सेस कैसे करते हो। df.shape है मेरा, ये टपल एलिमेंट है। ऑफ 0 करूंगा तो बेसिकली इसका फर्स्ट एलिमेंट आएगा, ऑफ 1 करूंगा तो मेरा सेकंड एलिमेंट आएगा, है ना। और इसको मैंने प्रिंट पे पास किया हुआ है, करेक्ट। सो दैट्स व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, माय डेटा फ्रेम इज 7 रोज एंड 3 कॉलम्स, ठीक है। सो आल्सो रिटर्न्स माय शेप ऑफ माय डेटा फ्रेम। नेक्स्ट इज हेड। ओके, सो हेड बेसिकली आपको डेटा को व्यू करने के लिए काम आता है। सो यू वांट टू just peep into your data how it looks like. So I mean, it returns the n rows and the n basically आप जो df.head के अंदर जो function पास जो value पास करते हो ना, so that's gonna be the point for that. Great. So that's how it is. So df.head of 10 so basically will be my 10th value. So 10 indexes, 10 top n rows वो रिटर्न करेगा। So top 10 rows, top n अगर मैं डालूंगा तो top 10 rows वो रिटर्न करेगा, ठीक है। सो अब देखो बाय डिफॉल्ट हमारे पास यहाँ पे कितने रोज हैं। सो हमारे पास यहाँ पे 7 रोज हैं, राइट। सो हमारे पास अगर ये 10 जो है, इफ इट एक्सीड्स द नंबर ऑफ रोज सो विल रिटर्न द मैक्सिमम इट कैन। ओके, सो व्हाट इफ आई गिव से df of 10 of say 2 will return the top 2 rows only. So till that time it is valid. And likewise we have tail. So tail basically instead of going from top, it will start showing from below. So if I do df of tail 3, for example, so it'll return the last 3 rows. So df head and df tail, so it's like that. So top n rows and last n rows, guys. Okay. So that's it is great. So yeah. Great. So you can run on some other functionalities like empty. So basically like df.empty will return false. It returns if my data frame is empty. It's also used. So suppose you're in your production environment, if you're creating a data frame dynamically, right, based on the values, and you have to always check, if the data frame is empty, do not run anything. If the data frame is not empty, then run something. So in that sense, it will be used. So you always check using df.empty. So if it is false, it should come out of the loop and create some log and it creates some alert to the person, right? So likewise, so df.empty will be used to check if the data frame is empty or not. So yeah, so we can run some functionalities also on top of that, like max, sum, min, mean and all that. So specifically you can create the list of columns, उसके ऊपर भी आप max pass कर सकते हो. So df of age और height का max निकालना है मेरे को, तो ये age और height का individual max बता देगा. So likewise you can run some just descriptive stats also on top of that. Okay, on top of this we have a very good function which is describe. ठीक है, so describe is again a very good function, guys. Describe क्या करता है? So basically you are with this describe you are describing the data. So describe आपको याद होगा सीरीज में भी हमने पढ़ा था. So with this series element, describe what it does, it prints the certain important or the major characteristics, statistical characteristics of my data, right? So likewise It is valid for data frame also. So you can see this. So all the by default characteristics like count, mean, standard deviation and all that, so it will be printed. But in the series you saw that only one output was there, but here it will be printed for all the data points, all the columns, you know. But also, did you notice, so here column 1, 2, 3 and 4 are numeric, but the column 5 is string, right? It's my categorical data. So that's where the problem is. So you cannot have a mean or a standard deviation of a categorical data. So by default, if you use .describe without any argument, right? So it will omit the categorical data and it'll give you the statistics for only the numerical data. But inside the describe function, you have an option to select the categorical data as well. Or in fact, so as you can see this, it is returning the 25th, 50 and the 75th percentile value, right? Even you can change these percentile values. So what if you want to see say 90th percentile, 95th percentile, 99th percentile, 99.99th percentile, right? So you can dynamically give the percentile values as well. You can use the argument percentiles. Okay, so if you just do a shift tab here, you can see this describe takes these arguments. Percentiles include and exclude. So percentiles, you can give the list of percentiles whatever you want. So I can see if I've passed this, right? So you can see it has taken. So it has taken the 75, 50 and all that. So it has taken all the percentile values here. So exclude में if you want to see only the number or the categorical data ka, so you can exclude number, or you can do include all. So all is for like all the numeric and the categorical data type. So you can see this. It has already included 5 here, but categorical data ka statistical features are different. So we have count, we have unique, we have top, we have frequency here. So which is not applicable for numeric data. So wherever it is applicable, the value will be there, else it will be null, nan. So that's about the describe function. Great. So that's about describe function, guys. So next we talked about the Python functions like pipe, apply and apply map. Okay, so also a very good functionalities of my data frame. So pipe is used for my table wise manipulation, apply is used for my row or individual column wise application, or apply map is used for individual element wise application. Okay, so technically apply and apply map works more or less similarly, so there's no major difference there, but apply has advantages in terms of computational speed, so you won't realize in the smaller data, but if the data size is huge, apply is much is faster than apply map. Okay, so like let's first talk about what is pipe. Okay, so pipe is like you want to do a manipulation of the entire data of my element. For example, I want all the elements of my table to be added with 2, or then at the same time subtracted with 2, right? So I can do that. So I've created 2 functions which will be adding something and then subtracting something. Okay, so I'm adding value 10 on top of on each of my values. And on that, I'm doing a second pipe, and on this added 10 value, I'm subtracting 5. So you can see this. So 1 plus 10 is 11, minus 5 is 6. So that's my output. So here also for this 2 plus 10, which is 12, minus 5, which is 7 here. Likewise for 200 plus 10, 210 minus 5 is 205. So it has applied changes on my entire data frame. Okay, so that's what pipe does. It cascades the information, it cascades the computation on the entire table. So that's where pipe is used. Okay, but on the other hand, apply is used on a particular column or a particular row. Okay, so either thing is fine. So for example, suppose you want the mean of the columns, right? So you're gonna use apply. So apply is like you'll be working on the column wise operation, or the by default column wise operation you can give you for row wise elimination also. So you just pass np.mean. So mean से आपको हर एक कॉलम का मीन पता चल गया यहाँ पे, राइट? सो अप्लाई मैप में वही सेम चीज है, एलिमेंट वाइज ऑपरेशन कर रहे हैं, आपने सिंपल सब पे अप्लाई करा हुआ है, बट सेम चीज की तरह ही काम करता है, बट अप्लाई वर्क्स मोर फॉर माय कॉम्प्लेक्स थिंग. ठीक है, cool. So इसके बाद आता है re-index, guys. So re-index में क्या है? re-index basically we are re-indexing my data. ठीक है, so re-index में हम क्या कर रहे हैं basically? यहाँ पे देखो हमने पहले रीसेट इंडेक्स पढ़ा था, राइट। सो रीसेट इंडेक्स क्या करता था, इंडेक्सिंग को री री आई वुड से रीसेट कर देता था, करेक्ट। सो स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम जीरो रीसेट कर देता था, but here in the reindex you are arranging the indexes based on the index value which you are passing. So suppose I've created a data frame here df. I have the default indexes 0 1 2 and 3, right? So now I'm going to pass a new index, say a b and 0 and 1. Okay, so हमने new index pass किया a b 0 and 1. So 0 and 1 पे तो by default data है हमारे पास for the columns, but a and b पे तो data नहीं है ना। सो अभी मैं फिल वैल्यू को हटाता हूँ। सो इफ आई रन इट लाइक दिस एंड इफ आई डू दिस, सो इसमें क्या होगा, मेरे डेटा में यहाँ पे नैन आ गया ए एंड बी में, है ना। और ऑल्सो आई हैव एडेड अ न्यू कॉलम 5 हियर। सो मेरे पास 1 2 3 एंड 4 है, राइट। बट मेरे पास अभी रीइंडेक्स के अंदर मैंने क्या किया, हमने एक नया कॉलम भी पास कर दिया 5। सो जहां जहां पे डेटा है वो तो प्रिंट हो जाएगा, वो तो आ जाएगा, बट लेकिन जहां पे नहीं है एडेड डेटा पे, वहां पे वो जीरो हो, वहां पे वो मिसिंग आ जाएगा, करेक्ट। अब रीइंडेक्स के अंदर हमारे पास एक फंक्शन भी अवेलेबल है, फिल वैल्यू से आर्ग्यूमेंट लेता है। सो फिल वैल्यू में मैं कुछ भी वैल्यू पास कर सकता हूँ जो कि मिसिंग वैल्यू को, जहाँ पे मिसिंग डेटा है वहां पे वो फिल कर देगा। सो आई कैन हैव अ जीरो और आई कैन ऑल्सो हैव से अ टेक्स्ट से मिसिंग, आई कैन डू दैट ऑल्सो। सो जहां जहां पे डेटा है वो उसको जो भी फिल वैल्यू होगा वो वहां पे रिप्लेस कर देगा। सो आई हैव रीइंडेक्स। रीइंडेक्स मतलब आप रीअलाइन कर रहे हो डेटा को, रीसेट नहीं कर रहे हो, रीअलाइन कर रहे हो। सो डिफरेंस है रीसेट इंडेक्स में और रीइंडेक्स में, ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दैट, ठीक है। इसके बाद है रीनेम गाइस। रीनेम तो सिंपल है। रीनेम सपोज यू हैव योर 1 2 3 एंड 4 है ना। सो आप इस कॉलम्स को रीनेम करना चाहते हो। सो इसके रीनेम के अंदर आपका सिंटेक्स क्या है, आप रीनेम हर चीज, रीनेम आप इंडेक्स को भी कर सकते हो, रीनेम आप कॉलम को भी कर सकते हो। सो कॉलम के अंदर आपके इसको हमेशा कॉलम्स इक्वल टू करके एक डिक्शनरी फॉर्मेट में देते हैं। तो डिक्शनरी फॉर्मेट में फर्स्ट वैल्यू विल बी माय ओरिजिनल एंड द सेकंड इज माय चेंज्ड वैल्यू। सो दिस इज माय सिंटेक्स। सिंटेक्स क्या है गाइस, सिंटेक्स इज दिस। So under my columns, I want to give original changed. This is my syntax. ठीक है। So I have given that. So मैंने कर दिया। 1 को मैंने 1 अंडरस्कोर से भी कन्वर्ट कर दिया, 2 को 2 अंडरस्कोर से कर दिया। इवन इंडेक्स को भी चेंज कर दिया मैंने। इंडेक्स को 0 को a से कन्वर्ट कर दिया, 1 को b से कर दिया और इन प्लेस 2 कर दिया। मतलब ये मेरा अपडेट कर देगा डेटा फ्रेम को, है ना। So मैं इसको रन करता हूँ। आपने देखा यहाँ पे आपको दिख रहा है ये 1 and 2 कन्वर्ट हो गया मेरा डेटा फ्रेम का कॉलम का नाम, और ए एंड बी से कन्वर्ट हो गया इंडेक्स का नाम। दैट्स व्हाई इट इज यूज्ड। ग्रेट। इसके बाद हमने पढ़ा था पैंडास आइटरेशन गाइस, है ना। सो आइटरेशन भी हमने 3 तरीके के आइटरेशंस देखे थे। सो वी टॉक्ड अबाउट आइटर आइटम्स, वी टॉक्ड अबाउट आइटर रोज एंड वी टॉक्ड अबाउट आइटर टपल्स, है ना। सो आइटर आइटम्स बाय डिफॉल्ट एक पेयर में डेटा रिलीज करता है, की एंड वैल्यू पेयर में डेटा को रिटर्न करता है, ठीक है। और ये डेटा पे काम करता है। आइटर रोज जो है आपका पर रो पे काम करता है, फॉर इंडिविजुअल रोज। ओके, सो इंडिविजुअल रो इट रिटर्न द इंडेक्स एंड द सीरीज। अब पहले देखते हैं ये कैसे काम करता है। चलो लेट्स चेक द आइटर आइटम्स फर्स्ट। सो मेरे पास डेटा फ्रेम है। सो आइटर आइटम्स क्या करता है, इट विल चेक योर इंडिविजुअल इंडेक्सेस। ओके, सो इंडिविजुअल इंडेक्सेस एंड बेस्ड ऑन दैट इंडेक्स की मेरी वैल्यू क्या है। सो हमारा देखो ये आइटर आइटम्स हमेशा, ये मैं तो यहाँ पे लिख देता हूँ, ये कॉलम वाइज काम करता है। सो आइटर आइटम्स जो है हमेशा ये वर्सेस कॉलम वाइज, ठीक है। सो ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दिस। सो कॉलम वाइज आइटरेशन हो रहा है। सो हमारा फर्स्ट की क्या है, यहाँ पे फर्स्ट की है मेरा 1। सो फर्स्ट की इज 1। सो 1 का मेरा एलिमेंट्स है 1 2 3 एंड 4। सो इट हैज रिटर्न मी द एलिमेंट्स 1 2 3 एंड 4। इसके इंडेक्सेस हैं 0 1 2 एंड 3 and this is the name of my key which is my 1. Okay, now the second key is 2 two which is my second column, है ना। उसके सारे वैल्यूज को प्रिंट करेगा। सो बेसिकली आइटर आइटम्स जो है वो मेरा लूप कर रहा है ओवर माय कॉलम्स, ठीक है। अब सिमिलरली इफ आई रन इट ओवर आइटर रोज, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने एक नया डेटा फ्रेम क्रिएट करा हुआ है यहाँ पे, ठीक है। अब मैंने यहाँ पे अगर मैं आइटर आइटम्स करूंगा तो मेरे को यहाँ पे नेम एज एंड एजुकेशन मिलेंगे कीज, है ना। सो नेम है मेरे पास, नेम फर्स्ट है मेरे पास की एंड द सेकंड इज एज एंड द थर्ड इज एजुकेशन, राइट। सो दिस आर माय कीज। अगर सिमिलरली मैं इसको आइटर रोज करूंगा तो आइटर रोज में मेरे को ID 1 एंड ID 2 मिलेगा गाइस। लेट्स सी दिस। सो हियर द keys have changed. Here the keys are ID1 and ID2. So here I was doing earlier column wise, but now I'm doing row wise. So that's the difference of iter items and iter rows. Yeah, you can whatever way you want to work on your data, whatever computation you will be doing, right? So based on that, we'll be selecting the respective iterator. ठीक है, सो दैट्स हाउ इट इज. एंड लास्ट में आता है आइटर टपल. सो आइटर टपल्स किसी मैनिपुलेशन के लिए यूज नहीं होता और एक की वैल्यू पेयर में भी रिलीज नहीं होता, ये इंटायर रो को मेरा रिटर्न करता है. ठीक है, तो सपोज मेरे पास यहाँ पे 2 रोज थे, राइट. सो 2 रोज है मेरे पास, आपको दिख रहा था ID1 एंड ID2. तो वो क्या करेगा, पूरा दोनों को एज ए टपल रिलीज करेगा. सो आपको दिख रहा होगा, इट्स अ टपल एलिमेंट, pandas टपल एलिमेंट. सो इन दिस आपके पास इंडेक्स है ID1 और इसके डेटा पॉइंट को रिलीज करता है वो. ठीक है, सो ऐसे प्रिंट कर रहा है वो. इट्स जस्ट फॉर द व्यू पर्पस, नॉट फॉर द चेंजिंग पर्पस. ठीक है, दैट्स वेयर माय pandas दिस थिंग इज यूज्ड. इसके बाद हमने मल्टीपल सॉर्टिंग पढ़ा था हमने, करेक्ट. सो सॉर्टेड पढ़ लेते हैं. सो सॉर्टिंग में भी देयर आर 2 वेज ऑफ सॉर्टिंग, यू नो दिस. सो सॉर्टेड एंड सॉर्ट हमने बाय डिफॉल्ट पढ़ा था, बट हियर इन pandas वी हैव समथिंग कॉल्ड एज सॉर्ट इंडेक्स एंड सॉर्ट वैल्यूज. ठीक है, सो सॉर्ट इंडेक्स आपको पता है, बाय डिफॉल्ट बाय द नेम इट सेज इट विल सॉर्ट द डेटा बेस्ड ऑन इंडेक्सिंग. सो इंडेक्स अगेन बाय डिफॉल्ट इट्स क्या कहते हैं, ट्रू ही होता है, असेंडिंग ट्रू होता है. अब इसको रिवर्स ऑर्डर में भी कर सकते हो. ठीक है, सो हमने डेटा को सॉर्ट किया बेस्ड ऑन द इंडेक्स, सो दैट इज माय सॉर्ट इंडेक्स. एंड अगेन आई हैव समथिंग कॉल्ड एज सॉर्ट वैल्यूज. सॉर्ट वैल्यूज में हम क्या करते हैं, आई विल बी सॉर्टिंग बेस्ड ऑन द कॉलम. So I have 2 columns here, so I can base on either of the column or both the columns, you know. So I can give the column name directly and then I can sort the data. Definitely जब आप sort करते हो तो definitely आपका वो indexing distort हो जाता है. So इस sorted data के ऊपर आप reset index करोगे to again sort the indexing again. So you know this by default. Cool. इस पर हमने कुछ क्वेश्चंस करे थे, सो वी विल नॉट रन थ्रू द क्वेश्चंस. सो इट इज ऑल द बेसिक क्वेश्चंस व्हिच वी डिड रिगार्डिंग सम ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस रिगार्डिंग योर मीन, लॉग, आई लॉग एंड ऑल दैट. सो वी डिड दैट, है ना. सो वी ऑलरेडी कवर्ड फ्यू क्वेश्चंस, सो दैट्स समथिंग व्हिच इज प्रीटी मच इट. और हमने क्या करा था इसके आगे गाइस, सो वी डिड सम गुड क्वेश्चंस, वी डिड सम 10 क्वेश्चंस. सो या वी कवर्ड pandas विद स्ट्रिंग्स पोस्ट दैट, राइट. सो स्ट्रिंग्स में क्या है हमारे पास, स्ट्रिंग्स में हमारे पास भी सम गुड फंक्शनैलिटीज हैं. हमारे पास लोअर है, अपर है. लोअर क्या करता है, लोअर इट विल चेंज द केस ऑफ ऑल द एलिमेंट्स टू लोअर केस, राइट. यू नो दिस ऑलरेडी. सिमिलरली हमारे पास अपर क्या करता है, अगर मैं अपर कॉल करूंगा, सो अपर विल चेंज द केस ऑफ ऑल माई एलिमेंट्स टू अपर केस. यू कैन सी दिस, इट इज चेंज टू अपर. सो एवरीथिंग इज इन अपर केस, है ना. सो दैट्स माई अपर. Length, basically length is it calculates the number of elements I have in the series. So what if I call in the entire length? So the entire length is the length of my series element. What if I call length of Arpit? So it'll calculate the length of the number of characters it has. So in that case, it'll be length of Arpit will be answer will be 5, right? So if I pass it over a series, it'll check the number of elements. But if I pass it over a string or a particular string, yeah, it'll check the number of characters. So that's something which how length works. And then we have a strip. So a strip is a very good, it reduces the white spaces from both left and the right side. Okay. So you can see the unwanted space here. You can see the unwanted space here in the row. You can see unwanted space both at the start and the end. So it'll reduce this. Okay. But it won't remove this white space between. So I have a space between Arpit and Jan as well, right? So it won't remove this white space. It'll still have this white space. So it'll only remove the white space from the end or the start, nothing from the between. Okay, that's what the strip works. Split में क्या है guys? Split में क्या होता है? It splits the data based on the pattern, है ना? So pattern as in suppose मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि मेरे को split करना है based on स्पेसेस से मेरे को स्प्लिट करना है ना. तो यहाँ पर आपको क्या एक स्पेस है यहाँ पे, लेकिन स्पेस के पीछे कुछ भी नहीं है. तो ये क्या करेगा, मेरे को लिस्ट ऑफ एलिमेंट्स रिटर्न करता है बेसिकली. स्प्लिट ऑलवेज रिटर्न्स अ लिस्ट ऑफ एलिमेंट्स. ओके, सो अब मैंने यहाँ पे इसको बोल दिया स्पेसिंग के बेस पे इसको स्प्लिट करना है. सो ऑल्दो आई हैव अ स्पेस हियर, बट स्पेस के पहले कुछ भी नहीं है. तो ये एक एम्प्टी एलिमेंट है मेरे यहाँ पे, आपको दिख रहा होगा यहाँ पे. इट हैज अ लेंथ ऑफ, अगर आप लेंथ ऑफ इसको करो तो 2 आएगा लेंथ. द फर्स्ट एलिमेंट इज एम्प्टी एंड द सेकंड इज अर्पित, है ना. सो लाइकवाइज इसमें आप देख रहे हो अर्पित, जैन एंड देन स्पेस है. तो यहाँ पे 2 स्पेसेस है, बेसिकली 3 एलिमेंट्स है. अर्पित फर्स्ट एलिमेंट है, जैन सेकंड एलिमेंट है, एंड देन थर्ड आपका एलिमेंट एम्प्टी स्पेस है, बेसिकली नथिंग है वहाँ, है ना. सो लाइकवाइज यू कैन स्प्लिट द डेटा बेस्ड ऑन अ पर्टिकुलर पैटर्न, है ना. सो लाइकवाइज वी हैव वर्कड ऑन दिस. ग्रेट. सो cat बेसिकली कॉन्कैटिनेट कर देता है एलिमेंट्स ऑफ माय स्ट्रिंग्स. सो सपोज आई हैव सर्टेन एलिमेंट्स, सो मैंने cat डाला है सेपरेटर, कुछ भी डाला, मतलब cat के अंदर आपने डाला है किसको ऐड करना है बाय 3 पाइप्स, आई कैन डू दैट. और इवन आई कैन डू से कुछ भी डाल सकता हूँ मैं. आई एम कॉन्कैटिनेटिंग द एलिमेंट्स, आई कैन डू and also here. So if I do a dollar, so for example, so it'll keep on adding the, yeah, np is not defined, so I'm defining np here. राइट. सो अगर आपने इसको रन किया तो अपने वो एलिमेंट्स को डॉलर से सेपरेट कर देगा, है ना. सो वट एवर सेपरेटर यू वांट टू यूज, यू कैन यूज इट कॉन्कैटिनेशन में. करेक्ट. कंटेन्स में क्या होता है बेसिकली, if the pattern if the element of contains that particular pattern, it will return as true. So for example, मैंने contains यहाँ पे space करा है, so if spacing is there in this particular element, so it will return as true or else 0, है ना. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल आप देख सकते हो कि दिस एलिमेंट में 1 2 3 4 में कुछ भी स्पेसिंग नहीं है, तो यहाँ पे फॉल्स आया है. बाकी सब में स्पेसिंग है, यहाँ पे एंड में वाइट स्पेस दिख रहा है मुझे, तो सब जगह ट्रू आया है. रिप्लेस लाइकवाइज गाइस, रिप्लेस में आप रिप्लेस कर सकते हो. सो रिप्लेस में मतलब फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू वांट टू रिप्लेस द एलिमेंट वेयर एवर देयर इज एन अल्फा, देयर इज एन एट द रेट, यू कैन रिप्लेस विद डॉलर. सो यू कैन डू दैट, है ना. सो इस एग्जांपल यहाँ पे देख रहे हो, आपको यहाँ पे अर्पित एट द रेट 1 2 3 4 था, सो अब ये अर्पित डॉलर एट द रेट अर्पित डॉलर 1 2 3 4 हो गया. सो दैट्स हाउ रिप्लेस वर्क्स. रिपीट अगेन, रिपीट में नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स यू वांट टू रिपीट द सेम एलिमेंट. सो विद 3 करा तो अर्पित 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 हो गया. सो या, सो दैट्स हाउ रिपीट वर्क्स. काउंट बेसिकली करता है, इट काउंट्स द नंबर ऑफ टाइम दैट पर्टिकुलर पैटर्न इज देयर अंडर ईच एलिमेंट. सो अभी मेरे पास यहाँ पे ए जो है कैपिटल ए, इट्स केस सेंसिटिव, सो कैपिटल ए 1 टाइम है, सो ये 1 रिटर्न कर रहा है. इस वाले में मेरे पास 2 टाइम है, एक स्टार्टिंग में भी है और एक सेकंड में भी है, जैन में भी है, ये 2 रिटर्न कर रहा है. सो द नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स दैट पर्टिकुलर पैटर्न इज देयर इन द एलिमेंट, है ना. The next starts with basically it'll get the element wherever it is starting with a particular pattern. So if this element is starting with say t, it'll return as true or else say end as 0, false. So starts with ends with भी होता है. So जैसे starts with, तो start के लिए suppose मैं इसको start with में अगर a कर देता हूँ and I run it, so it'll run as sorry s1 में एंड्स विद नहीं करना है यार, मेरे को स्टार्ट्स विद करना है, स्टार्ट्स विद करना है. तो अगर मैं इसको ए से करूंगा, क्या हो गया, STARTS विद, ठीक है ना. ठीक है, स्टार्ट्स विद ए से कर दिया मैंने, तो ये आपको दिख रहा होगा ए से स्टार्ट हो रहा है, ये ए से स्टार्ट हो रहा है, तो जहां जहां पे ए से स्टार्ट होगा वो ट्रू से हो जाएगा. और सिमिलरली एंड्स विद में जहां जहां पैटर्न से एंड होगा वहां पे ट्रू आ जाएगा. स्टार्ट्स विद एंड एंड विद. फाइंड, इफ यू वांट टू फाइंड अ पर्टिकुलर पैटर्न, है ना. सो अगर वो जहां पे फाइंड पे जिस इंडेक्स पे मिलेगा वो इंडेक्स की वैल्यू, वो पोजीशन रिटर्न करता है वो बेसिकली, ठीक है. सो इफ इट विल फाइंड दैट पर्टिकुलर, और जहाँ पे नहीं मिलेगा तो वो -1 दे देता है. सो इट रिटर्न्स द फर्स्ट पोजीशन. तो अगर आपके पास मल्टीपल है ए, सपोज यहाँ पे मल्टीपल ए है, तो विल गिव यू द फर्स्ट इंडेक्स, फर्स्ट ऑकरेंस ऑफ माय दैट पैटर्न, है ना. सो इफ यू वांट ऑल द ऑकरेंसेस देन फाइंड ऑल है. सो फाइंड ऑल में वो नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स रिटर्न कर देगा आपके पास, अगर वो सारे पैटर्न इसके अंदर जितने भी टाइम्स अवेलेबल है, तो एक लिस्ट ऑफ एलिमेंट्स रिटर्न करता है. स्वैप केस है, स्वैप केस में आप कैप्स को लोअर करोगे, लोअर को कैप्स करोगे, नथिंग फैंसी, ठीक है. फिर लास्ट 3 और बच जाते हैं, इज लोअर, इज अपर और इज न्यूमेरिक. सो बेसिकली वो चेक करता है कि ये मेरा जो एलिमेंट है वो क्या, वो लोअर केस में है. इज लोअर, अगर एक भी एलिमेंट यहाँ पे अपर होगा तो वो फॉल्स दे देगा. सो बट ये इंटायर एलिमेंट लोअर केस में, तो दैट इज गिविंग इट एज ट्रू. Or else, depending on that, is lower, is upper, and is numeric work. So if the data element is numeric, suppose say 1 2 3 4, this is numeric, right? So ideally, if I check with is numeric, only this will be true. Yeah, this is true, or else is false. Yeah, so likewise, this is how it works. So this is what we have covered so far, and we are into group by anyway. So this is what I wanted to cover in the recap, guys. Thank you so much for bearing with me. So as you know, so we'll be covering group buys again. So the next week onwards. So we're going to be doing that group buys, and we're going to be solving the exercises on group buys. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for being with me, and it was a pleasure talking to you. And